The private dining room at Le Bernardin hummed with the familiar sound of my family's disappointment in me. Crystal stemware caught the soft lighting, making the expensive wine in their glasses sparkle as they discussed my latest failure. I sat quietly, cutting my perfectly cooked salmon while my sister Amanda held court, her new engagement ring flashing with every dramatic gesture. So there I was, she was saying, closing the Anderson merger, $100 million deal mind you, when Sarah calls asking for business advice. She used air quotes, making our mother chuckle. As if her little startup could handle real corporate strategy. Dad, executive VP at Maxwell Industries, nodded sagely. At least she's asking for help now. Better late than never. I didn't actually I started, but Mom cut me off. Darling, we're just concerned. You left a perfectly good job at Dad's company to be your own boss. More air quotes. And what do you have to show for it? A tiny office in that dreadful WeWork space. If they only knew that tiny office was actually the entire top floor of the WeWork building, which I own through one of my holding companies. I manage, I said quietly, taking another bite of salmon. Manages to lose money, Amanda Stage whispered to Dad, who tried to hide his smirk behind his wine glass. Speaking of managing, Mom brightened. Amanda, tell Sarah about your promotion. Amanda preened, adjusting her Cartier watch, a gift from Dad for following the right path in business. Well, since you asked, I'm being made junior partner at Maxwell next month. Youngest ever. That's wonderful, I murmured, checking my phone under the table. A message from my CFO. Final paperwork signed. Maxwell Industries merger announcement set for tomorrow. Should we move it up? See, Sarah? Dad leaned forward, entering lecture mode. That's what happens when you follow the traditional corporate path. Amanda started in the mailroom dash. Actually, Daddy, I started as your executive assistant, Amanda corrected. Right. Worked her way up properly. None of this disruption nonsense you're always talking about. I thought about the documents sitting in my office safe, papers that would disrupt their world beyond recognition in about 14 hours. Still playing entrepreneur? Amanda smirked. What's this company called again? Phoenix something. Phoenix Digital Solutions, I supplied, though they never remembered. Such a pretentious name, Mom sighed. Darling, there's no shame in admitting defeat. I'm sure your father could find you something entry-level at Maxwell. That's right, Dad nodded. The mailroom's always hiring. Though, he chuckled, you might have to report to your sister soon. Amanda's laugh tinkled like expensive ice. Can you imagine? Sarah taking orders from her little sister? Though it would be better than whatever she's doing now. I took another sip of wine, thinking about the real reason I'd suggested dinner tonight. In exactly 3 minutes, their perfectly ordered world would start to crumble. How many employees do you even have? Amanda pressed. 2, 3. Something like that, I said, not mentioning the 300 people in my main office or the 2,000 across our global operations. And what exactly does your company do? Mom asked, making those infuriating air quotes again. Before I could answer, the private dining room's door opened. Charles Maxwell himself, CEO of Maxwell Industries and my father's boss for 30 years, walked in. Dad nearly dropped his wine glass. Charles. What a surprise. Richard. Charles boomed. Glad I caught you all. I was having dinner with some board members and heard you were here. Please join us, Mom gushed, already calculating the social capital of having the CEO at her table. Charles's eyes swept the table, landing on me with a knowing glint. Actually, I came to see Sarah. Silence fell over the table like an expensive tablecloth. Sarah. Amanda's voice had risen an octave. Why would you dash? There's my new business partner. Charles declared, pulling up a chair. I've been trying to reach you all evening about tomorrow's announcement. Mom's fork clattered to the floor. Partner. Dad's face had gone an interesting shade of purple. There must be some mistake. No mistake, Richard. Charles smiled broadly. Though I suppose, partner, isn't quite accurate anymore, given the merger terms. Amanda's perfectly glossed lips formed a small O of confusion. Merger. Didn't Sarah tell you? Charles looked around the table with artificial surprise. Phoenix Digital Solutions is acquiring controlling interest in Maxwell Industries. The papers were signed this morning. The silence that followed was worth every moment of the past 5 years of their condescension. But that's impossible, Dad sputtered. Phoenix is just a small startup. Small. Charles laughed. Sarah, you really haven't told them anything, have you? I smiled, dabbing my lips with the napkin. I tried. They were too busy planning Amanda's partner party. That reminds me, Charles turned to Amanda, whose face had gone from confused to horrified. About that junior partner position. The silence that had fallen over the table was broken only by the soft clink of my knife against fine china as I continued eating my salmon. 5 years of careful planning had led to this moment, and I intended to savor every second. This is absurd, Dad finally managed, his face cycling through various shades of red. Sarah's company is. It's nothing. Just a small consulting firm. Charles raised an eyebrow. Is that what you think Phoenix Digital Solutions is? Richard, your daughter's small consulting firm revolutionized the entire tech industry. Where do you think Maxwell's recent digital transformation came from? Mom's hand flew to her throat, clutching her pearls. But that was Amanda's project. Actually, I spoke up. Amanda was just the face of the project. My team did all the work, under a different company name, of course. Amanda's perfectly manicured hand gripped her wine glass so hard I thought it might shatter. That's not true. I led that transformation. I have the presentations, the reports dash. The presentations my team prepared? I interrupted softly. The reports you put your name on without understanding a single line of code? Charles nodded. We knew about that, by the way. It was quite impressive watching Sarah's team quietly fix all your modifications. The color drained from Amanda's face as she remembered all the times she'd improved our proposals, improvements that had nearly tanked the entire project until my real team stepped in to salvage them. But the board meetings, Dad protested weakly. Amanda presented to the board. And I sat in the back, I reminded him, as Elena Stone, the technical consultant, you never bothered to acknowledge. Remember how you made me wait in the hallway while Amanda took credit for my quarterly projections? Mom's hands were shaking as she reached for her wine. This doesn't make sense. Sarah's company. It's just her. In that awful shared office space. Actually, Mrs. Bennett, Charles interjected, Phoenix Digital occupies the entire building. Sarah owns it through one of her holding companies, along with most of the tech corridor downtown. The waiter chose that moment to arrive with dessert menus. One look at our table, Dad's purple face, Mom's trembling hands, Amanda's mascara starting to run, and he wisely retreated. But the Anderson merger, Amanda whispered, her voice small. $100 million deal. Was actually $1 billion deal, I corrected gently. After my team restructured it. Did you ever wonder why those technical consultants kept revising your numbers? Charles checked his watch. Speaking of numbers, the press release goes live at midnight. Sarah, the Wall Street Journal wants an exclusive about the hidden powerhouse behind Maxwell's success. Dad's hand slammed down on the table, making the crystal water glasses jump. Now see here. I've been at Maxwell for 30 years. I built that digital division dash. You resisted it at every turn, Charles cut in, his voice suddenly hard. If Sarah hadn't secretly intervened, your stubborn adherence to traditional methods would have bankrupted us. Why do you think I approved this merger so quickly? Mom was frantically scrolling through her phone, probably reading about Phoenix Digital for the first time. $12 billion in assets. Global operations. Named most innovative company last year. This can't be right. Oh, it's right, I said, finally setting down my fork. All those cute little projects you mocked? Front companies for one of the largest tech conglomerates in the world. That waste of time you laughed about at Christmas? Just acquired our biggest competitor. Amanda's lower lip trembled. But my partner position will not be happening, I finished. Along with most of the executive positions created through nepotism rather than merit. You can't do this, Dad's voice was dangerous and low. I won't allow it. Charles actually laughed. Richard, as of tomorrow morning, Sarah will be your boss. In fact, he checked his phone, the paperwork just cleared. She already is. The sound of shattering glass made us all jump. Amanda's wine glass had slipped from her fingers, spreading an expensive red stain across the white tablecloth, rather like how news of this merger would spread across their carefully ordered world. I said, standing up and smoothing my dress, the one Mom had called bargain basement earlier. It was Chanel. This is a good time to discuss tomorrow's organizational changes. First, I began, pulling out my tablet, let's address the immediate changes. Dad, your office will need to be cleared out by noon tomorrow. Security will assist. You're firing your own father? Mom's voice rose to a pitch that made nearby wine glasses vibrate. Not firing, I corrected. Retiring. With a very generous package. More generous than he deserves given the audit results. Dad's face went from purple to white. What audit? Charles grimaced. The one that revealed how you've been channeling company resources into Amanda's projects, Richard. The irregular promotions, the inflated budgets, the credit for other people's work. Amanda burst into tears, her expensive mascara creating dark rivers down her cheeks. But I earned those promotions. Did you? I pulled up a file on my tablet. Let's review your biggest achievement, the Anderson merger. Would you like to explain these reports? The ones you presented as your own work. I modified them, she stammered. You put your name on them, I corrected. After my team spent 6 months building the strategy. A strategy you nearly derailed with your improvements. Mom's hand was shaking so badly she had to set down her wine glass. But all those Society magazine articles, Amanda's interviews about being a young business prodigy, were all based on my work, I finished. Work that Dad made sure was credited to his successful daughter. Charles cleared his throat. The board was quite interested to learn about that, by the way, along with some other creative accounting regarding family expenses. Dad's face went even whiter. He knew exactly which expenses Charles meant. The business meetings that were actually family vacations, the client entertainment that paid for Amanda's engagement party, the office upgrades that renovated Mom's kitchen. You can't prove any of this, he blustered, but his voice lacked conviction. I smiled, sliding another document across the table. Actually, we can prove all of it. Which is why you're going to quietly retire, take your generous package and stay very, very quiet about everything you've learned tonight. Amanda was still crying, mascara now completely ruined. What about me? My position is being eliminated, I said firmly. Along with several other questionably created executive roles. However, I slid another document her way. I'm offering you an entry-level position in our actual digital transformation team. You can learn the work you've been taking credit for. Entry-level? She shrieked. I'm a senior executive. No, Charles corrected. You were playing at being a senior executive. There's a difference. Mom had finally found her voice again. Sarah, you can't do this to your family. After everything we've done for you. Done for me. I cut her off. You mean like mocking every company I built? Excluding me from family events because I was embarrassingly unsuccessful? Telling everyone I was having a breakdown when I refused Dad's entry-level job offer. The room was silent. I stood up and spoke calmly. The press release goes live in 4 hours. By tomorrow, every business news outlet will know that the failed daughter you always mocked is now your boss. And that little startup you laughed at? Phoenix Digital Solutions just bought Maxwell Industries in the biggest tech deal of the year. Dad looked shocked. The country club. They'll definitely hear about it, I said. Oh, and your membership is being cancelled. Company policy now, no more personal spending on business accounts. Charles, the board chair, stood up and fixed his tie. I'll head back to my dinner. Sarah, the board meets tomorrow at 9 a.m. See you then, CO. He walked out. Mom tried one last time. Sweetheart, let's talk this over. Just us as a family. I shook my head. We're not family anymore. We're co-workers. And in business, I smiled, thinking of all the times they laughed at me. What you do matters more than your last name. I picked up my bag and walked toward the door. Before leaving, I turned one last time. Oh, and Amanda, that corner office you were so proud of? I'm turning it into a coding boot camp for new hires. You'll be joining the class, if you accept the job. First session is Monday at 9. Don't be late. I shut the door behind me. Just before it closed, I heard Mom whisper, "What just happened?" I smiled to myself as I walked to my car. What happened was 5 years of hard work finally paying off. I didn't follow the path they wanted. I built my own. And it led me straight to the CEO's office. Tomorrow they'd wake up to headlines saying the failed daughter had taken over. Tomorrow they'd answer to me. But tonight I had a press release to finish, and a company to lead. Because in the end merit matters more than blood. The next day a Wall Street Journal article was on my desk with a photo that I knew would drive them crazy. Phoenix Rising. How Sarah Bennett transformed the tech world. The photo showed me in my father's old office, now mine, wearing the same Armani suit Mom once said looked cheap. Another headline read, Maxwell Industries stock soars 400% under new CEO, the failed daughter's comeback. My assistant Michael buzzed in. Your mom's here again. Third time this week. Let me guess. More investment ideas. She says her important friends want to meet with you. I laughed. These were the same people who ignored me at country club events for years. Tell her my calendar is full. As always. The past 6 months had been interesting. After the big announcement, my family went through every stage of denial. First, they pretended it wasn't real. Dad tried to block the merger. But his bad decisions and poor management made it easy for the board to support me. Then they got angry. Amanda threatened to sue, saying the digital changes were her idea. Our legal team showed proof she copied my reports, word for word. Next they tried to make deals. Mom showed up daily with business tips from her wealthy friends. These were the same people who used to whisper that I'd never be as successful as Amanda. After that came embarrassment. Magazine covers told the truth. Maxwell Industries heir exposed as fraud. Bennett family nearly destroys tech giant with nepotism. It wasn't good press for Amanda, or for Dad's golf game. Now they're finally starting to accept it. Kind of. My phone buzzed again. Amanda was calling. Probably about her spot in the coding boot camp. To my surprise, she actually took the entry-level job. Her first day ended in tears and a broken keyboard.